Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kayleigh Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Hayley Anderson Richardson, who is a quantum success and business growth coach. And we are going to be diving into how you can create quantum success and business growth. Hayley, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
I am so excited to be here and have the conversation today.
And I'm super excited for this topic. I'm really excited. I think this is going to support and help so many of our fabulous female entrepreneur listeners. But before we dive into the entire topic of quantum success and business growth, I would love for you to share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself, your own journey and your own experiences.
I could literally take up your entire podcast talking about this. I'll try and keep it really brief. So I have been in business, had businesses for almost 22 years, started in network marketing, pre-social media, absolutely loved it because I had to have conversations. Unfortunately, the company ceased trading. I literally went to bed one night with a business and woke up the next morning without one. And that stung me a lot. And I dived out of the business world for a number of years after that. I had a great corporate career, had my second child, had a shopping habit that maternity pay in the UK does not support, and decided actually, if I just set up a little business, I could do some shopping. My weakness was handbags and jewelry. Perfect. I can shop for those wholesale, resell them. Shopping habit ticked, great. That little business escalated into a wholesaler, a designer, a retailer.
Wow.
It was all of the stuff. But it gave me back my love of business. I sold that business about 9 years ago. It's still going now. And then from there, it just spiraled. I had different businesses in both the product and service-based industries. I loved it. I still loved my 9 to 5. So I wound that down till I was literally doing about 4 hours a week in the end before I eventually left. But I got to work in a huge different number of industries, and some of those businesses I still own, some I still have parts of, some I've gone on and sold. And then 9 years ago, after a really serious riding accident, which potentially was going to leave me in a wheelchair, and during my recovery, I was doing a lot of mindset stuff. So the one thing my surgeon had said was, if you want the recovery that I was adamant I was going to have, you need to do the inner work on you, which I'm a bit of a learning junkie. It sent me on this whole spiral of loads of different modalities and stuff, but it had a real impact on my business as well. And I got invited into a business accelerator led by some international banks and corporations. And my youngest was 2 at the time. Let's face it, trying to work at home with a 2-year-old, you don't even get a warm coffee, let alone any work done. And I was like, yeah, amazing. They're going to give me an office. People are going to call me by my actual name. I'm going to get a warm drink. I'm going to get lunch. I went. And I actually won the accelerator and got invited in to do some coaching. It was very corporate. There was a lot of red tape. There was a lot of incredible women who really wanted to change their lives, but didn't have the certification or the 3 years experience and didn't get the help. So I just threw together a Facebook group, and the rest is history, really. The business has evolved over the years as the women in there have evolved, but that's sort of how I came into the coaching world, and I still set businesses up. So unlike, some coaches out there who are coaching based on like what they've done previously, I've still got businesses that are being set up and launched. I'm still in it with my clients, but I love that startup to success phase, really.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your journey. And I'm sure you'll touch on some more aspects of that as we go through today's episode. I am really excited to dive into quantum success, and potentially some of our listeners are probably questioning, what on earth does this mean? What is quantum success? So can we first of all define to our listeners what it means and how they can potentially apply the principles to create a successful business and life?
Okay. So quantum success to me, and you will probably speak to loads of different people who have different views on what it is. To me, it's success on your terms.
Mm.
Like the internet is so full of stuff
Yes.
and telling us what we should and shouldn't have and all of that. Quantum success is your version of success. It's how that looks for you, no matter whether that is an extra £1,000 a month and you just being able to do the school runs, or whether that is you creating £100,000 a month and actually running a huge company, you know,
Yes.
and working a 9 to 5. It's your success on your terms, but it's created by you being aware of your own energy and how you're showing up, your own mindset, being able to shift those limitations, those blocks, that stuff that we all have, no matter what level you're at, that holds you back. And understanding that it's a process that you move through. So when you're talking about like energetics, mindset, shifting those limitations, those blocks, it's not you do it once, amazing, everything's sunny and rosy, and you're going to move into this huge area of success. Like there's different iterations of you, and every time you move into that next version of success, you will come up against something else. It's really being able to lean in and trust yourself, because as a business owner, having been there as well, it's easy to want to rely on somebody else. I'm just going to go follow their blueprint. I'm going to go do their course. I'm going to go copy the content that they're putting out online, and I'm going to get what they've got.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no magic wand, as much as I hate to say that, but leaning in and trusting you and what you need to do leads you into that quantum success field, because you listen to yourself. And the only way you're actually going to create success is by being you and showing up and being you, not by showing up and being somebody else.
I love this. I absolutely love this. And this resonates so much with a lot of the work that I do with my own clients as well, in terms of the iconic leadership piece and being
Yeah.
you, being authentic, etc. And it's interesting what you just said there in terms of there's no magic wands. You know, you can learn all the strategies, all the blueprints, get all the frameworks, get all of the templates, but at the end of the day, they're someone else's and you can implement them. You might get some results, but actually, I definitely believe that creating your own way and creating your own frameworks and your own strategies, whatever that looks like, is the best way for you, because it's so unique and it's going to support them as individuals. So what do people do then? So, you know, the female entrepreneurs that are listening to this podcast, they all want huge success, I'm sure, and everyone has goals. Is there anything that they can do to balance the demands potentially? Because I think when we run businesses, we're also juggling lots of other things, whether it's the family or spinning different plates. Some people are working still in corporate whilst building their business. How can people have huge success whilst balancing demands of other things as well?
Start off with being really honest about what that success looks like for you. Like I said, there's a lot of noise online about you've got to have a 6-figure business, a 7-figure business, an 8-figure business, a multi-8-figure business. That's great if you're in that stage. If you're earlier on in business and you're making maybe 3K, 5K a month, being told that you've got to have an 8-figure business, it's really scary, and it can almost feel so overwhelming, like you just stop doing stuff. So rather than looking at what, you know, all the social media channels and people out there are telling you what you should be doing, like look at what success looks like for you. What's the life that you want to create, and then create your business around that. If you build your business first and your lifestyle second, you're going to get into a stage where your business is controlling your lifestyle, and then you get really resentful because you're in that cycle of I've just got to, and then you might as well be in a 9 to 5. Actually, if you can look at what success looks like for you, look at what your lifestyle that you want to live looks like for you, look at what that next money goal is for you and what purpose that's going to serve, you know, give that money a purpose, and then build your business around that, because there's no right and wrong, there's no rules. And that's really hard, especially if you're still in a 9 to 5 or you've always been in employment. and you were told what to
Very
do, and then you
different
come
then, isn't
in,
it?
you've got your own business and no one tells you what to do. Like there's no rules, you can do whatever you want. That's a
Mm.
really steep learning curve. But when you can step into that space, that's when you become really magnetic and you attract so many opportunities.
Mm.
But
Mm.
balance is a myth. Like balance, yeah, absolutely, you can have balance, but balance in reality looks like 1 week you're giving more to your business and 1 week you're giving more to your life.
Mm.
You know, we were talking before the podcast started about doing more this week so we could have half term off.
Yeah,
You know, that's balance. This
reality.
week's busier because next week actually is going to be really nice. You know,
Yeah.
that's what balance actually is. It's not that every week you're going to work X number of hours and you're going to have X number of hours at home. It's finding that there's an overall balance throughout.
Mm. Absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it is scary, isn't it? I think when people take the leap into entrepreneurship, it's scary because it's so different. And like you were just previously saying, it's different to having a 9 to 5, or different to having to answer to so and so because you need to do this on this particular deadline. All of a sudden, you're your own boss. You have your own business, and you're basically quite simply making the rules. But how incredible is that? I think we should celebrate that as entrepreneurs. We make the rules for our businesses as long as they're legally following the legal routes. But we make the rules in terms of how we work, when we work, what we produce, what we create, how we support people. And it's just incredible. But I know that there are some misconceptions out there about quantum success and how female entrepreneurs potentially see success. So is there a way that potentially we can avoid those, or what are some of the misconceptions that you see?
I think the biggest ones are around sort of your own mindset and the mindset work that we need to do, because you see so much online about, you just need to manifest, you just need to have a
Yes.
vision board. All these things you need to be in the energy of. All
Yes,
of those things have their place,
of
but they
course.
are not going to do it for you. Like you've got to do the daily actions. You've got to do those inspired actions. When you're doing all the other stuff, those inspired actions come so much easier. Um, but actually, when you can get into the right space in you energetically and in your own mind, you know what you need to do each day, and you're not almost drawn away by the fluffy stuff. Like, yeah, the branding's great, the website's great, the email list's great, but only if it's serving a purpose. If you're just doing it to fulfill a tick box because you think you need to have one, that's when it becomes one of those fluffy tasks that actually it's easy to spend all day messing around on Canva and creating some gorgeous images, film a video. We can lose an entire day. It
Yeah.
doesn't really take you to where you've got to be. So, like, stop the comparison.
Yeah.
Stop comparing yourself to what other people have in their businesses, what other people are doing. Like, just really own you, because if you're constantly scrolling socials, because let's face it, most of our businesses are online, so we're on socials, and you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you don't know the reality of what's behind there, because a lot of entrepreneurs online only show what's effectively smoke and mirrors.
Mhm.
You don't see the reality of when they've sat up till 2 o'clock in the morning because they've got to create something, or when they're sat at home in tears to their partner because they've had a really bad week, or the refund request that's come through, or the tech that's broken down in the background just before they're about to do a launch, or whatever it is. They don't share the real. You're literally seeing the highlights, and that's what you're trying to compare yourself to, and you can't live that way.
No. This is so true. The comparison is just, I think it's so easy to get lost in other
Yeah.
people's success. And we've all heard it before. Social media quite simply is, I mean, I call it the transparent window, from technical media terms. And it's so interesting to see through that transparent window on someone else's life and business. But ultimately it is, as we know, the highlights. And I think when we compare ourselves to others, exactly as you said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know the work, the energy, the time they've put into that. You don't know whether they've got a team of 10 people supporting them with their social media, creating their social media for them. You don't know. And I think it's so easy to get lost in that, isn't it? And how do people really avoid that then? Because I know it's so easy to say, just focus on your business. But how can they just really avoid that comparison?
It, social media has given us the tools to be able to do it. We just don't use it. You
Mm.
go onto Instagram, you can have like your favorites list. Well, actually, the people you really want to engage with, put in your favorites list. You know, on social media, and you go into Facebook, and actually you can mute people. They don't know you've done it, but you can mute them. You don't
You don't
have to
offend
unfollow
them.
them. That's it. You don't unfollow them. You don't
Yeah.
unfriend them. You can just mute them, and you can do that across all channels. You know,
Yes.
even with the content that you're putting out, you know, if you're using your personal Facebook profile, you can separate your friends list. So if you've got that really lovely friend who maybe doesn't always leave the most helpful comments on your content, but they think they're being absolutely hilarious, you know, actually they don't need to see that post you're putting out on Facebook because you can separate your friends list and who's seeing things. So we've got all the tools there. We
Yes.
just don't use it because actually sometimes on that deeper level, we quite like that comparison. We like to see what they're doing. We like to be nosy, but it's
Mm.
really not healthy.
No, it's not. It's definitely not healthy. So really utilizing the tools that there are on social media for us, and obviously, as we know, staying on our lane, staying true to what we want to achieve. So let's kind of dive into maybe some practical tips. Are there any tips or practical steps maybe that you could suggest to our listeners who really want to start designing or creating a life and business that feels really aligned to them, rather than following the one size fits all blueprints and strategies and all the things that we see online?
Firstly, just get really honest.
Mm.
Like we're so, even when, you know, we're told, oh, get really honest on what you really want, almost what you then start to write down is still a little bit curated because we feel that we should.
Mhm.
So getting really honest, but going back to that. So once you've written down exactly what it is you want from your life, exactly what it is you want from your business, what feels really good, go back to that a couple of days later. Is that actually what I really want? Why do I want it? You know, put some justification, some reasoning behind it. Well, actually, I don't want to be doing as many one-to-ones. Well, why don't you want to be doing as many one-to-ones? Is it because you want the space and the capacity and the time? Or is it because you're not enjoying the one-to-ones you're doing at the moment because they're the wrong clients you've got coming in? Like, start to dive deeper into why, but do the work on you. Do
Mm.
not fall into the trap of, I'm going to come to the 5 a.m. club and I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to do the 2 hours of mindset and exercise and journaling and all of that stuff that we all say we're going to do and never do. Like, break it down throughout the day because you do that at 5, 6 in the morning. And then, you know, schoolroom, kids, whatever life throws at you, work, emails, all of the rest of it. It gets to lunchtime. By the time you've had lunch, your mind is already in overdrive because you've put so much pressure on yourself. You've probably flicked on social media 6 times already. You know, you're not in that great space that you're in at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Rather than doing all of that stuff, do 2 or 3 minutes of work on your own mindset, but do it every 3 to 4 hours because you're stopping that dip. You're keeping yourself in that constant high energy, that constant positive place. And actually, from that place, you'll make so many better decisions. You will step into your business in a different way. So you'll see different opportunities. Like the
Mm.
opportunities are there for you to grow your business. But if your mindset's in the gutter and you're feeling rubbish, you're never going to see them and feel like you can take control. So you'll see the opportunities, you'll do the stuff. You'll feel better about being able to, you know, set boundaries around your own time. Like I finish work at this time. This is my family time. Now I'm not picking up the 6 messages you've just sent me on Boxer at 10 o'clock at night because you desperately want an answer. You know, you feel better about setting those boundaries. You feel better about the lifestyle that you're allowing yourself to live.
Yeah.
So it's doing all of the smaller bits that make up the bigger thing.
Amazing. And what about limiting beliefs? Because I think again, when people have the idea of what their, you know, their dream business looks like, and I fully appreciate the smaller steps and the things that they want to do in order to kind of get to that place. But I also think that you know, many of us as female entrepreneurs, I think every single one of us has had to overcome limiting beliefs of some description, whether that's the fear of failure, whether it's, you know, overwhelm, whatever it is. Is there anything specifically or any advice that you would give our listeners if they are struggling with, and I know it will depend on what limiting belief, but if they're
Yes.
struggling to really move forwards?
I would say absolutely, even if it is just the tiniest bit of support, go and get some support from somebody
Mhm.
around those because the only way you're really going to get rid of them is by getting back to where they actually stem from. And that's
Yeah.
a really difficult thing for you to do by yourself. And also, depending on where it stems from, and we quite often don't know because our subconscious has buried this, we have this view of, I totally know where this has come from. It's come from X event that I've been through. Quite often it stems back even further, and that can be like traumatic to go through. It can bring up a lot of other emotions and a lot of other stuff that we didn't know we'd buried, because our subconscious is really good at hiding stuff. And that can then lead on to so many other things, and a spiral that you get into. And you run that danger of being in a worse place when you come out of it than when you started. If you go and work with somebody, even if you don't have the financial backing to be able to go and do that long term, go and have a session. Go work with somebody as a one-off to come up with some tools, some techniques, and someone who can hold space for you as you're going through that, so that you're in a safe space where you can allow yourself to feel the emotion. And then, like I said, can give you the tools to move forward, to work on other things that are going to come forward for you. Because you don't have one limitation, one belief, one block holding you back. You remove that one and then 10 more come forward.
Yeah. Amazing. So really seeking that help, getting the support from people around you, whether it's someone who is professionally trained or whether it's someone who's in your circle that can support you with that. Absolutely. I want to dive a little bit more into your own journey. So I feel that there's more to share in regards to your own journey and story. And you're a very successful female entrepreneur and have, you know, obviously, as you've mentioned, previous businesses and current businesses, etc. What would you say are the biggest, or have been the biggest, game changers for you in creating quantum success?
Probably realizing I can be visible outside my own world. We have got very insular, even though we're all online. We all have our own pages and our own platforms, and we stay like within our own little four walls on the internet. But as social media, as the internet has developed, it has got harder to be seen. You know, it's not the space that it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. By any stretch of the imagination, actually just being able to get out, to get into other people's worlds. We think nothing of going to a networking event in person.
Yeah.
You know, why aren't you getting out and having conversations, being in other communities, showing up in other spaces online? It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But we come into this with this like preconception. So definitely like those visibilities, those connection pieces, collaborations, rather than thinking we can do everything by ourselves. And definitely like the support network you've got around you. Being in a 9 to 5 is very different to being an entrepreneur. Like if being an entrepreneur was easy, everybody would be doing it. You know, it's definitely not. And it can get really lonely. You know, if you are, you know, a solopreneur and you don't have a team around you, you maybe don't have a coach that are supporting you, not everybody really understands. And I think recognizing that actually that's okay. It's okay that my partner doesn't get what I'm talking about. It's okay that my friends don't understand. But finding a network of people who do, and whether that is, you know, paid support, whether that is just a group of women who you can go and have those conversations with, because otherwise when it gets lonely, it gets even more isolating. And that's where you and your own mental health start to suffer. And you're never going to create success from that space. Like we all talk about, it takes a village when it comes to raising a family. Actually, it does with your business as well. You can't do it alone. And I think, especially as women, we think that we can do it. We can do it all. We can have this juggle. You know, we're sold this online. You can juggle, you can have it all. You can have the business, you can have the family. It's great. But actually, you need that support to stop you from burning out. And that support gets you there quicker because you can have the conversations about, oh, I thought about doing this, and what about this? And you know, I've got friends that I've sent messages to, and when I've had shiny object syndrome, and I've been like, oh, I really want to do this. I've seen this, and I think I could do this. And they've messaged back, and they were like, no, just like leave that one on the shelf for now. Focus on what you're doing. And
It's,
just those conversations.
it's so good, isn't it? To have your circle, to have a community, to have people. I think sometimes, I mean, I love what you said sort of at the beginning of the answer to that, where, you know, I think sometimes we underestimate the power of connecting and having conversations. And in the online space, there are so many incredible online communities. You just go onto Facebook and you're like, wow, like there are some amazing communities just to be a part of, just to connect, just to communicate. And then having or creating, if you haven't already got your own circle, always recommend, having your own sort of circle of go-to people as friends, business buddies, besties, whatever you want to call them, but ultimately the people that you can bounce ideas back and forth from, or go to them. They can hold you to account, accountable, etc. There's so many different things, but I absolutely value your answer there. I think that's, incredible advice, and actually something that I would 100% echo as being so, so important, because at the end of the day, building a business, especially if you're building a business organically, that community, absolute key. In those conversations, just having a simple conversation with someone, you never know where that can lead. So I think that's always really important, to get the support, but also to support others and to give back to the community as well. So I love that. What would your final piece of advice be to our listeners in terms of creating quantum success?
Just do it. Like, you're never going to regret, or very rarely regret, something you did. But actually, quite often we regret the things we didn't do, like what would have happened if. Or like, I so often hear women say, oh, it's too late. I missed my chance with that. I should have gotten social media at that point. I should have started that business at that point. That industry's saturated now. But actually, it's never too late. Like, just do the stuff, because you don't know where it's going to lead. That might not be your final destination, but just do that thing that you've always wanted to do. And if you don't feel you can, get the support to help you, because actually that support can really help you with stepping into who you need to be able to take those opportunities. It can minimize all of the mistakes that we all make along the way, but it can really help you get there quicker as well. So definitely just do the stuff and get the support as well.
Amazing. Some incredible advice there. Thank you so much for sharing that on today's episode, Hayley. I really appreciate it. And I've got one final question for you. I ask all of my guests this question. What is your one word of the year and why?
For me, this year was space, and it took me a little while to step into it. So I knew that there were things that I wanted to change about the programs and the way I built one of my companies and how I was bringing one of my other companies into it. And it took me a while to see. So it probably took me about 7 months of this year of going, I know this is my word of the year, but I don't really know why or what it means. But actually, for me, it's been around creating not just space for me, but space for my clients, space for them in their businesses, allowing more flexibility. It's been around my whole lifestyle as well as the business and how things have moved forward. But yeah, it's opened up some amazing doors. It's allowed me some great opportunities, and probably as I've allowed myself to embrace it more, has forced me to take risks that actually in the other 7 months of this year I probably wouldn't have taken. So yeah, it's had multiple meanings for me this year.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Hayley. And thank you so much for being our guest on today's podcast episode. Where can our listeners connect with you and find you?
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hayley Anderson Richardson, and my Facebook group is the Female Entrepreneurs Hub.
Amazing. Go and give Hayley a follow. Go and connect with her. Say hello. And she's incredible at what she does. And I'd always highly recommend her. So thank you so much, my lovely. And thank you to everyone that has tuned in to today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And I will see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur Podcast with me, your host, Kayleigh Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream 6-figure or multi-6-figure business, then head to our website now for more information, or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.